Good morning, everyone, or good day, good evening for some of you, maybe. Good afternoon. So, lately I've been thinking about the town square of a small square. The, the, and I wonder sometimes if this, YouTube, it's kind of open to the world to come by, and are we a little bit of a town square that people come and visit and come through and everyone's invited? And I'm thinking about this meditation session with the metaphor of a town square. Imagine you're a traveler and you come to a small town. Looks like a welcoming town. Looks like people are happy to have visitors come through. And so you come and make your way to the town square. And there have very comfortable benches on the town square. And you're happy to sit on the edge of the square and watch the comings and goings in the town square. And it marvels you, all the different people and maybe animals and activities that somehow come through, show up in the town square, stay for a while, leave. And it seems like everyone has the ability to use the town square as a public space, and there's no sense that anyone shouldn't be there. Everyone looks like they feel like they're quite happy to be there and comfortable, and they belong, and they can be themselves, and it's lovely to watch the young, the old, the children, the lovers, people who argue, and even maybe the people on political soapboxes. So all this comes through. It's all of life comes through, and then at some point it dawns on you as you look at everyone, something seems unusual. You can't quite put your finger on it until you realize that all the people who come into the square, they're all visitors, like you. Some of them might stay for a few days, some of them for a few weeks, maybe some of them a little bit longer. But in fact, everyone in the town, everyone coming through, are just visitors. And you realize you're a visitor. Everything here is a visitor. So in the same way, it might be useful to think of your capacity to be aware, your mindfulness, as the town square that you keep open 24 hours a day, kind of keep it open, and everything is welcome into the town square, into the mindfulness. Your job is to make sure that you are sitting on that bench, that comfortable bench that allows you to be present and gaze upon all that comes. And maybe if you have a responsibility in that town square, as all visitors do perhaps, is to be accepting, kind to all the visitors that come. So to think of mindfulness as a town square in which everything is allowed to come through. Everything that comes through is allowed to be there. Everything is just a visitor. Some things stay longer than others. And your job is to know it, to see it, to be present, and to keep the town square available to everyone, to keep this town square as a place where all things could be, without you being for or against, without being involved or interfering with anything, just aware, just present. And perhaps this will give you a profound sense of being at ease and at peace, because you know you're in the town square and you can just allow things to come and go. Yourself, all things, all the ways that you are. So to assume a meditation posture that is upright, literally or metaphorically, and to gently close your eyes. And to settle into your bench in the town square so you can relax and be present, taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. As you exhale, settling in, relaxing. Then letting your breathing return to normal. And perhaps you've actually come to the town square early in the morning before anyone else. And you find a broom to sweep it clean, to make it nice for people who come. In the same way, relaxing your body is to sweep and make it nice for all that's going to be there for you. On the exhale, relaxing the face. On the exhale, relaxing the shoulders. Relaxing the chest. Relaxing the belly. Maybe relaxing the whole body. Releasing, holding, tightening. And then the comings and goings in this town square include the comings and going of each inhale and each exhale. Maybe the breathing can be like the pigeons flying around. And as you stay here, sooner or later, all kinds of things will come into your awareness. Let it come, let it go, let it be. But don't leave your bench. Don't leave and get involved with anything. Just watch it, just see it from the vantage point of your bench, as if Your attitude of acceptance of all of it is the very recipe of providing a sense of freedom and homecoming to whatever arises. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, maybe to take a few moments with the perspective that you're a visitor here in this world. And everything else, everyone else is a visitor. Everything is a visitor. We all have this in common in the comings and goings of all things. Just visitors. And with that perspective, perhaps sitting on your bench, watching in the town square, it might be a little easier to gaze upon all the visitors kindly, caringly, respectfully, maybe even reverently. And maybe wishing, aspiring that your heart and your eyes can look upon all people and all beings with kindness, that you can look upon all beings with eyes that convey safety, that you can be with all beings with a heart that radiates peace, that you can be present for others in a way they feel free to be themselves. May it be that your gift to the world, that you aspire that your gift to this world, we're all visitors, that you contribute kindness, goodwill, safety, peace, and freedom. And may this meditation practice we've done today, may it be that one way or another, it supports this aspiration to be this kind of person in this world that we live in. Thank you. So hello everyone. I'm starting a new week with a new theme. And I think maybe the title of the theme, that one word for the theme this week perhaps, can be the word meaning. And we'll want to spend this week exploring the topic of meaning in relationship to meditation. What's the meaning of meditation? And I think in years past I would have been very hesitant to take up a topic like this, partly because coming out of my Zen training, the idea of assigning meaning or finding meaning was often presented as being besides the point. There was something very significant about just showing up and being present without inserting or a meaning on top of our experience in our life. And I love this idea of this a radical simplicity of so much falls away. But I think we cannot get away from human life, human minds, somehow, one way or the other, whether it's conscious or unconsciously, being involved in questions of meaning, of purpose. Why are we here? What's the most important thing for us to do? And so religions provide often a sense of meaning and purpose and an interpretation of what's important, what priorities are, what we do with suffering, what's the meaning of suffering, what's the purpose in our life in relationship to suffering. And so what I thought I'd like to do this week is that with the hope that this topic gives a kind of depth to your involvement with meditation, that it gives kind of, it lets your meditation be fueled or founded on, based on, supported by some of the deeper values, deeper understandings you have, maybe that you're not even conscious of, that gives your meditation more motivation, more strength, more value, more like gravitas in a sense. And so we'll do that by looking at the connection of meditation, association meditation can have to a variety of different things in our life. Today I want to talk about suffering, and I don't quite remember the sequence that I have, but I think tomorrow was the important values we have, and then the connection to values, the connection to ourself, the connection to others, and the connection to what is might consider to be sacred. So what's the meaning of meditation in relationship to these important areas of life? There was a tendency when this Vipassana mindfulness meditation that I'm teaching, when it was brought to the United States, there was a very strong wish by the teachers to make it very available to as many people as possible without the hindrance or that it might be there if it was the whole Buddhist religious package was brought with it. There was an idea that this mindfulness practice is a simple, raw, basic practice, doesn't have to belong to any particular religion, doesn't have to belong to any particular philosophy maybe, and wanting to make it this practice available broadly and widely so it could benefit so many people. And in fact, they succeeded in many ways because they inspired. Those first Buddhist teachers inspired generations now of people who offer mindfulness completely separated from Buddhism. We sometimes call it secular mindfulness in clinical settings and all kinds of places. And I think it's been overall a wonderful contribution to society. And I think there's some real value in offering kind of a Buddhism light, where we don't kind of pile in a lot of the Buddhist meaning, the Buddhist sense of purpose, Buddhist religiosity that surrounds it, and just make it accessible to people easily. And that's still the case, but what I'm hoping the discussion this week will prompt you to not feel like you have to adopt or adapt some Buddhist idea that might come through here, but rather it becomes a mirror, the teaching, for you to reflect and think more deeply about your life, maybe more deeply than you ever have for some of you, about maybe the place of meaning, and what meanings do you bring, and what purposes do you bring, what is your understanding of what it means to be a human being in this world. So perhaps this can be an example for or a kind of a for the value that can be found is that someone might go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you're about to have a heart attack, and you're living with so much stress that I think you need to go and learn some meditation. So mindfulness is very helpful, and there's a mindfulness center nearby. Why don't you go there and learn to meditate? Because you're without stressing. I don't see that you're going to live more than a couple of months. So that motivates the person, and the person shows up at a meditation center and learns mindfulness, and maybe the teacher there asks, "Why are you here? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of you being here?" And so you or this person might say, well, my doctor sent me, and therefore it says a prescription. End of story. And then but then you press further. You ask the person you get asked or something, the question further, what but is that why did the doctor send you? And the doctor said, oh, because the doctor said that if I don't do it, I'll die, and I want I don't want to die, and the meaning of the meditation is not dying. But then you start thinking about more. You're asked more questions, and so the question becomes, oh, well, why do you want to live? Oh, because I want to be able to see my grandchildren. I want to be able to finish the work that I do. I love life, and I just want to be able to live it fully. I'm afraid of death, and I'm trying to put it off as much as I can. I feel like I haven't really dealt with my big issues in my life, and I really, before I die, I want to finish and deal with those issues. So there's all kinds of, so this idea of the doctor says you have to go and meditate because otherwise you'll die, begins being connected to other values, other important ideas about why you should stay alive. And those are animating forces. These are reasons. Some people don't know why they're alive. People don't have a meaning or a purpose that they have. And some people might do it because they've discovered that they can live much more peacefully if they don't live searching or questioning or getting all wrapped up around issues of meaning, purpose, and they just happy just to kind of roll along with whatever's happening. Then that becomes the meaning. That becomes the purpose. Just roll along. Just be present. And the meaning is that meaning is a hindrance, and it's just nicer just to roll along with things. So what's the meaning? What's the purpose? What's the interpretation we have? And so just might be interesting for some of you to know that in kind of classic or quite kind of standard Theravadan Buddhism that this tradition comes out of, I consider myself a Theravadan Buddhist in this role, this teaching. But I don't really have much place in my heart or my mind for some of the core teachings that give meaning, give a purpose to Theravadan Buddhism. Some people will say this is the foundation of it. Some people say that without believing in this, there's no Buddhism even. But I take exception with that, and my sense of meaning is very Buddhistic. I have some kind of an ultimate sense of meaning and purpose that comes from this practice. But I don't share some of the core things that some of the tradition has. I'm not motivated, so the example would be, I'm not motivated with the idea that the purpose of this practice is so that we will no longer get reborn. That doesn't speak to me, doesn't inspire me, doesn't have a place for me. It's completely appropriate and fine for someone else to have that view. I don't have an issue with that. But it's just not what animates me. And the idea of, that the purpose is to no longer be reborn, it doesn't really do much for me. And so, but do I have something else that is comparable? Um, if anything, I feel that it's enough for me, the idea that to have a radical freedom from suffering, to really let go of suffering in some deep way, and then live this life free of the attachments, the clinging, that's motivating for me. It's almost fundamental, but in the background of that, there is some kind of idea that I don't hold very tightly, but some sense that of trusting life, of feeling at home in this universe. And so this letting go of suffering, letting go of clinging, is also a homecoming into this universe where I'm no longer standing in opposition to it or making some problem with it. So these are all ways of making meaning, of purpose, of contextualizing, interpreting what we're doing. So I want to just end here now with one of the things to find that people find meaning in or purpose is in relationship to suffering. And some people will inherit some meaning of what suffering means, what the purpose of suffering is, from the religions they grew up with. And there are some religions that have a very important idea that suffering is redemptive, that you're supposed to suffer. It's good to experience suffering because it prepares you for the hereafter. Some people say that suffering is testing our religious faith, and so we have to kind of, somehow hold on to our faith when we suffer. That's the key thing about what we have to do. And we'll get rewarded if we hold on to our faith. And there's all kinds of ideas people have. And in Buddhism, the kind of the meaning of suffering is that it's unnecessary and that it's motivating in order to come to the other side of suffering, to be free of suffering, to radical liberation from suffering. There's a famous quote from the Buddha where he says, "I teach suffering and the end of suffering." And why end suffering? You might say there's no need to ask why. Just like you take your hand off a hot stove, you don't have to ask why you do it. It's your body will do it immediately. So it could be that simple, like almost like a biological imperative to be free of suffering. But there might be other things. There might be the idea that, yes, I want to be free of suffering so I can be a better support for the world around me. I want to be free of my clinging so that I can act from a place of compassion and care for this world, take care of my family. I want to become free of the kind of sources, greed, hate, and delusion that bring about the suffering so that I can live a certain way or be a certain way or do this and that. So what is your meaning? In terms of your meditation practice, what's the purpose, what's the role, what's the meaning of suffering? How does suffering fit into it? And how does that fit into wider circles of meaning or deeper circles of meaning in your life? Is it simply just to be free of suffering and that's enough? Or is there some deeper purpose that serves, some deeper value? Is it just to kind of be free of stress so you don't have a heart attack? Or, if you're free of suffering, what do you hope that will do for you? What is your aspiration? What is your sense of purpose if you can become radically free of suffering? Or is suffering just kind of a freedom from suffering and coping with suffering, kind of a little bit of a sideshow that you do reluctantly so you can get on to what's most important? What is most important? What is the most important kind of way in which you understand your life, what your life's about, what it means to be a human being? What is suffering and freedom from suffering? How does that fit into that in your life? So I hope that this makes some sense for you, and I'm hoping this is a catalyst for you to do some reflection. And I would encourage you, if you have anyone, friends, family, total strangers, that maybe you engage in this topic of meaning and purpose. And what is the most fundamental meaning and purpose that you have, that you associate, that you live by? And how does meditation connect to that? What's the connection meditation might have to support that? So thank you. And we'll continue these reflections over this week.